Meanwhile, however, in Arizona, Kristen Sinema, it depends on which poll you look at, but Kristen Sinema up in the NBC Marist poll on October 30th was at 50%, McSally at 44%. I just saw another one that shows Sinema down to McSally by a couple of points. Here is Martha McSally she's on Sean Hannity's program, right? And this radio program. And this gives you a sense of what is going on. I think this is indicative. Her plight, I guess, in regards to healthcare is indicative of what we're seeing with a lot of Republicans across the country. It is a function of Democrats running on healthcare. And here is Martha McSally on Hannity's show.
Including building the wall. Yes, sir.
Would you vote to repeal Obamacare, the vote that John McCain decided to change his mind on?
Well, Sean, I did vote to repeal and replace Obamacare on that House bill. I'm getting my ass kicked for it right now because it's being misconstrued by the Democrats. They're trying to, invoke fear in people who have family members.
Well, wait a minute. I know Arizona. How many Arizonans lost their plans, lost their doctors, and are paying infinitely higher rates because of Obamacare?
Yes. Obamacare has failed in Arizona. There's only one choice in 14 of 15 counties, which is no choice. People lost their health care coverage. We have people right now with pre-existing conditions who can't get access to health insurance because of the failures of Obamacare. So I worked hard to make sure that we're moving away from that and towards something that gives more choice for people, more flexibility at the state level, more free market, get the federal government, to not be doing this one-size-fits-all top-down penalties, taxes, and mandates. It's failed. And so I voted yes. Again, I've got millions of dollars attacking me right now, misconstruing that vote. I voted to protect people with pre-existing conditions. That's good intentions, but their policies are wrong. We need more conservative policies to bring the cost down and provide more options for people to get access to insurance.
All right, Martha McSally, really a rock star, hero who served her country.
She sounded like a rock star, whining
rock star
about ads and telling obvious lies with conservative word gibberish. That's a rock star.
What was impressive, too, was Sean Hannity. We just watched her being on-air disciplined by a talk radio show host, where she regretfully voted to cancel it and then had to back off that and pretend that the vote... I mean, we all know what the vote was, right? I mean, we have 20 Republican states right now suing the government to get rid of pre-existing conditions protections, to get rid of the protection for you if you're under 26 and being on your parents' plan, to get rid of lifetime and yearly caps, to get rid of the preventing recession. And so they're fighting an uphill battle. They're able to convince the people in the Fox world. And you can hear, the comments. You read all these things from voters or interviews in lines at these rallies and whatnot, and they just regurgitate word for word what they hear on Republican media, Fox, online, and they're not going to move from that. But broadly speaking, people know that they wanted to replace it for 7 years. They voted 57 times, was it? To replace it, repeal and replace, but they never came up with a replacement. And so...
And Graham Cassidy, which was the bill they settled on at the end, would absolutely strip people protection for people with pre-existing
that was
conditions.
The skinny repeal.
And in addition to slashing Medicaid in a way that not only, if I recall correctly, not only would it get rid of the expansion under Obamacare, but actually cut Medicaid in the long term.
Yes. However, at the very least, in terms of Medicaid, and this is, like I say, there were two parts of the Affordable Care Act. There was three parts in total to the Affordable Care Act. Well, I guess it depends on how you count it, four maybe. There was the patient protections, which we've just outlined. Those things that insurance cannot do and still consider itself to be insurance, right? I can sell you a car. If it doesn't have an engine, legally we can't call it a car. And the patient protections part of the ACA PPI was a success in my estimation. The expansion of Medicaid, wasn't as it ultimately it could be even more successful. We'll talk about that in a moment. The affordable care part, the affordable part, not so much.
But that's really because you needed the public option. In the original design of it, right, the public option would help keep that price down.
The public option would maybe. The public option would have basically presented in many states a government-funded alternative that would theoretically compete, and because it doesn't have the profit motive, would compete against people.
And that's Hacker's case. Jacob Hacker definitely.
Well, Hacker was the one who developed the plan for all three of them.
He said it would keep that. There's a price mechanism there.
Yes, that would have provided cost controls on some level. I mean, really, what it was really supposed to be an example of what a buy-in Medicare essentially would look like in these markets. Remember, there's only 11 million people in the country who buy Obamacare. There's only 11 million people who buy insurance over the exchanges. There's another 11 million, so maybe a million or two off on one way or the other, who have expanded Medicaid. And then everybody else gets the patient protections and some measure of cost control relative to what it was before. But it's controlling the rate of increase, not the actual cost. And so in terms of how it impacts people, in terms of cost, it really doesn't feel like it has saved anybody any money. And to the extent that it only has saved it really theoretically. Which, that and the theoretical savings and a dime will get you a phone call if you can find a payphone. But with that said, there could be millions more who end up with Medicaid. Gillum in Florida is looking good. He's going to pull Bill Nelson over the finish line. It looks like. Now, none of this. Please don't take anything I'm saying as a license not to vote or to get cocky about any of this, because none of it is. Kansas. There's a possibility in Kansas. Cordray in Ohio is looking good.
Those are big ones. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean, Ohio because it's Ohio, and I think people always need to remember. Kobach. He's one of the lead apartheid advocates of this country, and he really needs to be beat.
He needs to be beat. Now that may get screwed up by a guy named Orman, who is a Kansas businessman, undoubtedly taking votes from both of them, probably more from Kobach than I would imagine Kelly, but I don't know. Could be screwing up. Could be more from Kelly.
He's not a good influence, I don't think.
No. Abrams in Georgia, she was up by 1 point in the Fox 5 Atlanta Opinion Savvy. I mean, I don't know
No, she'll win that race if Brian Kemp doesn't steal it.
I mean,
definitely.
There's no way to measure in these polls ballot suppression. Right. There's just no way to measure it. And so
he's running purely on vote stealing.
The bottom line is what you should be doing is using the show as a source of entertainment as you walk around and knock on people's doors right now, or in between the phone calls that you're making on behalf of people. This is do or die time in terms of these midterms. You got 1 week. This is the time to do it.
Fun things happen. My friend Jenna just posted a picture. She's in canvassing in Georgia, and she just was out with Michael B. Jordan. So
there you go.
Look at things. Great things happen when you canvass.